Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. I hope you are enjoying our videos so far. In today's video, though we are going to talk about geopolitics, the format of our today's video is going to be a little different. We are making this video after a shocking comparison video we saw recently on YouTube. In that video, the creator compared China's and USA's GDP figures with the other major economies in the world, and the results were shocking. Let's get on with the video and find out what those findings were. In recent times, an intriguing video surfaced from the Taiwanese YouTube channel Lee's Real Talk, raising questions about the authenticity of GDP figures published by China and the USA. We are sharing a link to the original video in the comments section. Do check out that video as well once you are done watching this video. So now, coming back to the video, that particular video delved into statistical inconsistencies and suggested that both superpowers might be overstating their economic performance. Intrigued by these claims, we decided to test the theory ourselves. Step 1 was to establish the base figure. To conduct an independent verification, we decided to trace the economic growth of China and the USA from 1990 to 2024 using publicly available data from the World Bank. The first step was identifying the base GDP figures, and this is what we found. China's GDP in 1990 was US dollar 360 billion, and the USA's GDP in 1990 was US dollar 5.96 trillion. In step 2, we first asked ChatGPT to do the calculations for us. Our initial approach was to leverage AI for the calculations. We asked ChatGPT to compute China's 2024 GDP using the yearly growth rates available on the World Bank website. However, to our surprise, ChatGPT responded that the required data was not publicly available, even though we could see the data right there on the World Bank's official site. Then we decided that okay, if the ChatGPT is not able to fetch the data from World Bank website, let's feed the data to ChatGPT and ask it to do the calculations. So we fed the GDP growth rates of each year from 1990 to 2023 to ChatGPT, and then taking US dollar 360 billion as the base GDP, we asked ChatGPT to calculate what would be China's GDP in 2024. And again, ChatGPT disappointed us. It replied that based on the recent trends, China's GDP is growing by 5%. Again, not the answer we were looking for or expecting. Finally, we decided to take matters into our own hands. We decided to manually input the data into an Excel spreadsheet to independently verify the numbers. So we opened an Excel sheet and first we entered $360 billion as the base in the A1 column. And then in the next column, we entered GDP growth data of China for each year since 1990 to 2023. After entering all the rows, we put a simple formula to calculate China's current GDP based on these annual growth rates. After completing the calculations, we arrived at a startling result. China GDP in 2024 based on actual growth rates should be US dollar 5.93 trillion. This figure was significantly lower than the officially reported GDP of China, which exceeds US dollar 17 trillion. Next, we applied the same method to the United States. We took the 1990 base GDP of USD 5.96 trillion and compiled the GDP growth data for each year up to 2023. Using the same compounding formula, we calculated the USA's GDP in 2024 and the USA's GDP in 2024 based on actual growth rates should be US dollar 13.3 trillion. Once again, our calculations showed a stark contrast to the officially reported GDP of the USA, which exceeds USD 26 trillion. This was consistent with Lee's Real Talks findings. Encouraged by our findings, we decided to apply the same methodology to other major economies, including Japan, Germany, India, the UK, and France. In each of these cases, our calculations closely matched their officially reported GDP figures. This further reinforced the idea that only China and the USA showed significant discrepancies. So, the bigger question now is, are China and the USA manipulating GDP figures? The striking deviations in China's and USA's GDP figures raise an important question. Are these two economic superpowers inflating their GDP numbers to outdo each other? Now, if our methodology was wrong, then it should have been wrong for all the economies, including Japan, Germany, India, UK, and France. But what we saw was our calculations almost exactly matched with the current GDP figures shared by the rest of the economies, barring USA and China. But if our methodology is correct, then this raises serious questions about the reliability of official economic data and whether these two superpowers are engaged in an economic numbers game for global influence.